The world of Stranger Things is one filled with monsters from other dimensions, children with psychic powers, and government conspiracies, but one of its most compelling and brutally human elements is found in the character of Jim Hopper, particularly in his approach to getting answers. Hopper, the police chief of the small, sleepy town of Hawkins, Indiana, doesn't rely on futuristic gadgets or supernatural abilities to solve the mysteries that begin to unfold. Instead, his primary tool is a form of psychological interrogation that is as effective as it is harsh. A method born from a deep well of personal pain, a pragmatic understanding of human nature, and the urgent, terrifying context of the threats he faces. To understand Hopper's methods is to look past the simple label of brutality and see a calculated, if emotionally charged, system of pressure and persuasion designed to bypass lies and reach the truth at all costs, because the cost of failure in Hawkins is literally apocalyptic. Hopper's technique is never textbook. You won't find him gently building rapport or following a procedural manual. His approach is intensely physical and psychological from the moment he enters a room. It often begins with an invasion of personal space. He is a large man, and he uses his size deliberately, looming over subjects, whether they are a nervous kid like Dustin or a hostile government agent. This immediately establishes a power dynamic. He is in control, the room is his territory, and the person he's questioning is on the defensive. He doesn't ask polite questions, he makes blunt, accusatory statements. "You're lying," he'll say, or "I know you know more." This isn't just bluster, it's a direct challenge meant to shake the subject's prepared story, to provoke a reaction, a flinch, a stammer, a flash of fear or anger that reveals more than words ever could. He watches everything, his eyes missing nothing, reading body language and micro-expressions with the skill of a man who has seen every kind of deception a small town can offer, now amplified by extraordinary circumstances. The psychology here is rooted in unpredictability and controlled escalation. A subject might expect a police chief to follow a certain script. Hopper shatters that script. He can be quiet and intense one moment and explosively angry the next, slamming his hands on a table or throwing an object. This volatility keeps the person he's interrogating off balance, unable to settle into a comfortable lie. They are constantly reacting to him, not calmly executing their own plan of deception. His anger, while real, is also a tool. It signals that the stakes are beyond normal police business, that he is out of patience for games, and that the consequences for withholding information are severe. He creates an environment of high stress, knowing that under stress, people's carefully constructed facades crack. They either retreat into fearful silence, which itself is an answer, or they blurt out something true in an attempt to placate his rage or deflect his focus. He is masterfully applying pressure to find the weakest point in their story. Crucially, Hopper's brutality is almost never about inflicting physical pain for its own sake. It is about the threat of exposure, consequence, and the dismantling of ego. When he interrogates the mayor, he doesn't hit him. He exposes his corruption, plays a tape of his dealings, and destroys his carefully crafted public image. He attacks his legacy, which to a vain man like the mayor is far more painful than a punch. With the Russian scientist Alexei, Hopper's method shifts to a different kind of pressure. He uses frustration, impatience, and the sheer force of his will, combined with the tangible threat of the Terminator like Grigory, to break through the language and fear barrier. He simplifies the world into a binary choice: help me, or you die with your secrets. He presents himself, despite his roughness, as the only viable path to survival. This is a profound psychological move, positioning himself not just as an interrogator, but as a reluctant protector, the lesser of two evils. The source of Hopper's effectiveness is not professional training, but profound personal trauma. Before the events of the series, Hopper lost his young daughter, Sara, to cancer. This loss hollowed him out, leading him to a life of alcoholism, cynicism, and emotional numbness. This history is the key to his interrogation style. First, his own pain has inured him to the discomfort of others. He has lived in a world of emotional agony for years, so creating a tense, uncomfortable atmosphere for a liar feels trivial in comparison. Second, and more importantly, it has given him a kind of emotional radar. Having descended into the depths of grief, he can sense it in others. He can see the shadows behind people's eyes. When he interrogates Joyce about her son Will's disappearance, his harshness is undercut by a shared understanding of a parent's desperation. He pushes her hard, not to be cruel, but because he knows, on a cellular level, the stakes she is facing. His trauma allows him to see through platitudes and bureaucratic nonsense straight to the core fear or motivation driving a person. He knows what real loss looks like, so he can spot when someone is hiding something that could lead to it. Furthermore, the context of Hawkins itself forces Hopper's hand, making his brutal methods not just a character trait but a practical necessity. He is not dealing with ordinary crime. He is dealing with a shadowy government agency, Hawkins Lab, that kidnaps and experiments on children, a predatory creature from another dimension, and later, a literal Soviet invasion under the town mall. The normal rules of law and procedure are not just inadequate, they are dangerous. Politeness and protocol get people killed. When he is trying to get information from a lab agent or a Soviet guard, time is always the enemy. The mind flayer doesn't care about Miranda rights. In this context, Hopper's rapid, aggressive, truth-at-all-costs approach is an adaptation. It is the only way to cut through the layers of secrecy and obstruction quickly enough to have any chance of saving lives. His methods are a direct response to the irrational, overwhelming evil he confronts. To fight a monster, you sometimes have to harness a little monstrousness yourself. However, the documentary of Hopper's methods would be incomplete without examining their cost. His psychological brutality leaves scars on his relationships. He pushes Joyce and Eleven away with his overbearing need to control and protect, which is just an extension of his interrogative mindset. He needs information, he needs compliance. To keep him safe, he struggles to turn it off. The very traits that make him effective at breaking enemies make him difficult to love as a partner and father. He is perpetually on guard, ready to challenge and confront. Yet, this is also where his character's redemption arc is so powerful. As he softens through his love for Eleven, we see glimpses of a different side, the patience he learns, the moments of gentle conversation instead of interrogation. It shows that his methods are a suit of armor, a survival mechanism for a broken man in a broken world, not his fundamental nature. In the end, Jim Hopper represents a very human, if deeply flawed, answer to an inhuman problem. His psychology of interrogation is a messy, personal, and high-stakes art form. It combines intimidation, emotional intelligence born of suffering, strategic unpredictability, and a relentless focus on the objective. He doesn't just want a confession, he needs the one piece of truth that will stop a gate from opening or save a child's life. While his tactics would be condemned in any real-world police academy, in the heightened reality of Hawkins, they are often the thin, ragged line between survival and annihilation. Hopper's genius lies in knowing which pressure points to push, whether it's a man's pride, a mother's fear, or a prisoner's instinct for survival, and having the courage, or perhaps the desperation, to push them without hesitation. He is a reminder that in the face of the unknowable, sometimes the most effective tool is a stubborn, wounded human being who refuses to stop asking questions, no matter how hard he has to pound on the table to be heard.